Version 12 relies exclusively on INI files to store settings. It also uses INI files to save data for exporting and importing. To avoid problems with formatting and default characters, when using different regional settings in Windows, version 12 forces all programs to use US-centric settings, as shown in the information on the screen.
If you have not already done so, download the V10 to 12 zip file from the BDW Publishing website. Follow the instructions on that page so that the files in the zip are placed in the correct locations. Welcome to this tutorial on exporting version 10 MPO Canopus data, which will be imported into version 12. Since a major goal of version 12 is to break away from a legacy database engine, version 12 cannot communicate directly with version 10, and so must use the files exported here to populate its database tables. There are many similarities between version 10 and 12. The most important changes are moving from using the Windows registry to simple INI files, which are plain text, and from the FlashFiler database engine to SQLite. The legacy database relies on the Windows messaging layer for communications between server and client applications. Modern Windows security protocols make using FlashFiler difficult and problematic. Avoiding the Windows registry removes the Run as Administrator requirement and creating a version 12 directory where the user has read-write privileges. The SQLite database engine is easier to use, very popular, and well supported. However, it puts all the tables in a database into a single file. This means that frequent backups are even more critical.
Since the Convert V10 to 12 program relies on the FlashFiler engine, you must use Run as Administrator. The steps shown here show how to set this property permanently. If you try to run the program in normal mode, by double-clicking on it in Windows Explorer, it will appear to hang, as FlashFiler tries to open database tables. It takes about 60 seconds before it gives up, and you see an error message about outdated files. Before you try running the program, check if the MPO server is running. If not, this will also cause a 60-second delay, followed by an error message. Convert V10 to 12 is designed to start the server automatically if it's not running. However, this can fail even if set up properly. If necessary, start MPO Canopus, which does automatically start the server. Once the server is running, be sure to close MPO Canopus and MPO LC Invert if they are running. To start the program, open Windows Explorer and navigate to the version 10 programs directory. If set up correctly, you can double-click on the icon and wait a second or two while it starts. As it starts, the program automatically creates a V12 exports directory tree under the version 10 root directory. It is very important that you do not change the names of directories or rearrange the subdirectories. Once export files are generated, it may be tempting to edit them, since they are simple text files. Do not do this without contacting tech support first.
Since exporting the core files can take a very long time, you want to be sure not to undo what has been done should you stop in mid-processing or you have additional files to export. Make sure those additional files are not duplicates. If the Overwrite Existing Files box is checked, all existing imported data in the version 12 tables will be deleted when processing starts. If the box is not checked, then the program checks for an export file with the same name that it's going to use. If that file exists, it will be ignored, even if it's been changed. As the program starts, it also populates the Profiles combo box with all the profile names found in the Profiles key in the Windows registry. At the top is Selected. This is to make sure that you choose a valid profile before processing starts. This is the place where things get a little tricky, and maybe even confusing. When exporting data, the program relies on values within the selected profile to handle required values and to calculate or convert version 10 data to something compatible with version 12. This means that data in all the core and Canopus export files must match the profile settings as much as possible. Even if they don't, you can use the version 12 Sessions Manager to fix a multitude of errors. To export one of the Mighty 5 groups, click on it in the Core Files list box. Use Ctrl+click and Shift+click if needed to check all the desired groups. The User Stars catalog shipped with version 10 includes a number of fields with photometry by Arne Hendon. The User Elements table had no records after installation in version 10. Its purpose is to enter orbital elements that are not yet available in the MPC orb file from the Minor Planet Center. If you haven't changed, or don't want to keep any changes, then do not check the group. The version 12 installation provides compatible versions of the original version 10 tables. Converting the version 10 AAVSO data adds information wanted by version 12 that may be missing. Use the default AAVSO entry fields for the export to fill in missing data. Remember that version 12 and others want apertures in meters and focal lengths in millimeters. The focal length units must be set to those most commonly used in the version 10 session table's focal length field. The program will use this setting to convert to millimeters where required. This is another issue that is not critical. Changes can be made using the version 12 Sessions Manager. Be aware that exporting version 10 core files data can take a very long time. With more than 20,000 photometry sessions and 1.4 million observations, that conversion alone took more than 1 hour. The reason is that the structures of the version 12 tables do not match those in version 10. There's a lot of translation going on during the export. Click the Process button to start. Go get some coffee or read a book. As things move along, the progress bar marks the percentage of the current core file group, not the overall progress. The name of the file being handled appears just above the progress bar. Click Abort if you need to stop processing.
Exporting existing user profiles is easy. In the Export Registry box, click the Process button. Even with a large number of profiles, it should take well under a minute for the exports to be done. Canopus export sets have the same structure as the PH-Sesh and PH-ARBS tables. They just store a limited number of sessions and observations, often for a single object. In version 12, there are 4 tables, with the comp star data for the sessions and observations placed in their own separate tables. The main reason was to allow a variable number of comp stars for each session, with a maximum of 15 stars. Those 4 tables are stored in a single file, which is called a database in SQLite. All of the data in version 10 is exported to version 12. However, some of those data may be changed, such as converting focal lengths from inches to millimeters. A very small amount of data may be skipped should the values not be compatible with their version 12 counterparts. Before starting, set the focal length units to that most commonly used in the sessions to be exported. Usually, this was inches, but if you're not sure, or the units vary among the sessions, make a best guess. Any required changes can be made later using the version 12 Sessions Manager. Click the Add button to display a File Open dialog. Do not include the PH-Sesh file in the MPO Common directory. Navigate to a directory where the sessions to be exported are found, and then select all the files to be exported. Only session files are shown. It's assumed that for each session file, there is an observations file in the same directory with the same base name, but ending in OBS. If not, the chosen session file is skipped. Click the Open button to add the selected files to the processing list. If there are more sessions to be processed, but in different directories, repeat the steps adding files until the processing list has all the sessions to be exported. To delete one or more sessions, select them in the processing list. You can use Ctrl+click and Shift+click, as you do in any Windows list box. Click the Delete button and accept the confirmation message. To clear all items from the list, click the Clear button and accept the confirmation message. You must have at least one session in the processing list to continue. Click the Process button in the Canopus Exports group box. The progress bar in the box keeps track of the percentage of sessions that have been processed, while the message caption just above the bar shows the name of the export set being processed. Click the Abort button if you want to stop the export before all sessions have been processed. As with phsesh and pharbs files, the processing time depends on a number of factors.
The version 10 astrometry data files were binary, and so were not human-readable. They contained all the necessary data to reconstruct the final results, which is helpful if computing the observed minus computed differences when updated orbital elements are available. Even though the version 12 INI files are formatted text files, you should not edit them unless you're sure of what you're doing. The steps for adding astrometry files are exactly the same as for Canopus export sets, with the difference being which files are selected. In this case, the files should have an AST extension. By default in version 10, they were stored in the Canopus AST files directory under the MPO root. Before starting, set the most commonly used focal length units found in the files. This was almost always inches, regardless of the units in the profile settings. Click the Add button to open a File Open dialog. Navigate to a directory where the astrometry files are found, and then select all those to be exported. Click the Open button to add the selected files to the processing list. If there are more files to be processed, but in different directories, repeat the steps of adding files until the processing list has all the sessions to be exported. To delete one or more files, select them in the processing list. You can use Ctrl+Click and Shift+Click as you do in any Windows list box. Click the Delete button and accept the confirmation message. To clear all items from the list, click the Clear button and accept the confirmation message. You must have at least one astrometry file in the processing list to continue. Click the Process button in the Astrometry Files group box. The progress bar in the box keeps track of the percentage of files that have been processed, while the message caption just above the bar shows the name of the file being processed. Click the Abort button if you want to stop the export before all files have been processed.
The version 10 PhotoRed ARBS files were binary and contained all the necessary data to reconstruct the final results. They were much smaller than text files, but they were also not human-readable. Even though the version 12 INI files are formatted text files, you should not edit them unless you're sure of what you're doing. The steps for adding PhotoRed files are the same as for the astrometry data, but there is no need to set the focal length units. And in this case, the files should have an OBS extension. In version 10, they were usually stored in the UData or PhotoRed directory under the MPO root, but they could be any other directory that you might have used. Click the Add button to open a File Open dialog. Navigate to a directory where the observations files are found, and then select all those to be exported. Click the Open button to add the selected files to the processing list. If there are more files to be processed, but in different directories, repeat the steps of adding files until the processing list has all the observations files to be exported. To delete one or more files, select them in the processing list. You can use Ctrl+Click and Shift+Click, as you do in any Windows list box. Click the Delete button and accept the confirmation message. To clear all items from the list, click the Clear button and accept the confirmation message. You must have at least one observation file in the processing list to continue. Click the Process button in the PhotoRed Observations group box. The progress bar in the box keeps track of the percentage of files that have been processed, while the message caption just above the bar shows the name of the file being processed. Click the Abort button if you want to stop the export before all files have been processed.
Since the camera and telescope names were exported as part of the session files, consolidating their names is entirely optional, but it is still recommended. If you use consistent names in the camera and telescope fields in the version 10 sessions, then these steps will be quick, while serving to create version 12 lookup tables that will maintain that consistency. On the other hand, if, for example, you have several variations of names for the same camera, you may want to consolidate those names to a single name. Before you begin, be aware that you must convert both camera and telescope entries. You cannot do just one or the other. You also need to know that the names are taken from session files that have already been exported. So, you should wait to take these steps until you have exported all sessions from the PH session export sets. Otherwise, you will have to start anew. A way around this would be to move the previously exported sessions and observations to a temporary directory. Process any new sessions and run through the consolidation steps again. Of course, you must also be sure to use the same consolidation names as before. Once done with the new sessions, you must return all session and observation files to the default directory, which is MPO/v12 exports/exports. We'll go through consolidating only the camera names in detail. Since the steps are exactly the same as for telescope names, they won't be included in this section. When working with the telescopes, any mention of camera in this section should be taken as telescope. Click the Cameras tab on the tab control at the bottom. Then click the Gen Lists button. You need to click the button only this once, since it generates both the version 10 camera and telescope names. Scroll through the list of camera names and select all those that will be consolidated to a single name. In this case, FLI ProLine cameras with 1K by 1K chips will be selected. As with any Windows list box, use Ctrl+click and Shift+click to select the names. Click the Add button to show a pop-up form where you enter the name to be given to the selected cameras. Enter a default Celsius temperature that will be used when a session file doesn't have a value. Select the binning, if known, otherwise choose one by one. If you want to give a different group name to cameras based on binning, you will need to create each group separately, after selecting only those cameras with the specific binning. Click the OK button on the form to transfer the information to the groups list. Only the name is shown. Click the right arrow button between the two version 12 lists. All the selected camera names have been transferred to the version 12 cameras list, with the group name added at the start and separated by the pipe character. Note that the selected names are no longer in the version 10 lists. If you missed some version 10 names that you wanted to include in an existing group, select them in the version 10 list. Click on the group name in the version 12 camera groups list. Click the right arrow button to transfer the version 10 names using the selected group name. Select cameras in the version 12 cameras list that you would like to move back to the version 10 list, so that they go into a different group. Click the trash can button. The names are transferred back to the version 10 list.
If you want to change the name of a group, but not the cameras in it, click the name of the group on the version 12 camera groups list. Click the Edit button to display the previously seen group information form. Make any changes you want and then click the OK button on the form. Note that the group names in the version cameras list have been changed, and that group name has changed in the version 12 camera groups list. To delete an entire group, click on the name in the version 12 camera groups list. Click the Del button. This displays a confirmation message. All of the names in the version 12 cameras list tied to the selected group name are moved back to the version 10 cameras list, and the group name removed from the groups list. To remove all groups and move all version 12 cameras back to the version 10 list, click the Folder button. Confirm the request. Be careful what you ask for. Any camera names that are still in the version 10 list will not be changed. Repeat the steps on the Telescopes tab. As with the cameras, any version 10 names not tied a new group name will not be changed. You must define at least one camera and one telescope group, and each must have at least one name tied to it in order to go on. Click the Export button to process the files. This will take very little time. This concludes this tutorial for exporting version 10 data to files that will be imported into version 12 tables. This is done using separate version 12 program. More tutorials are on the MPO YouTube channel by using the URL on the screen. Please subscribe so that you can be notified when new tutorials are available. If you have any questions or comments, please send them to the MPO Software Forum on IO Groups. Please note, you cannot attach files to messages. If necessary, you will be asked to send them offline. Thanks for watching.